Hey friends, I hope your day is off to a good start so far. I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about volume. We've been talking about measurement, and I hope you were able to do the activity where you measured one room in your house using your body, just like Sid the Science Kid, and then maybe you were able to find some non-standard forms of measurement, like a paper clip or a Lego, to measure some other things around your home. So again, today we're going to talk about volume, and volume is the amount that a container can hold. So as you can see here, I've got 3 different containers, and all of them have a different volume. And I've got some water. I put a little food coloring in it so that we can see it better in our clear containers. But I'm going to dump some water into one of my containers, and we're going to look and think about the volume of that container, meaning how much it can hold. So I'm going to dump some water into my container right here. And you'll notice that all of these containers, they're the same shape. They're the same shape, they're about the same depth, meaning how tall they are, but they're different sizes. So when containers are different sizes but the same shape, it is a lot easier to think about their volume and compare their volume. But we're going to talk in just a few minutes about how it's a little bit different if the containers are different shapes. So you can see that I've filled up my smallest container to the top, and to show you how much water can fit in this container. What do you think will happen when I dump this container into this container? Think about it for a minute. Will this container be full when I dump this water into this container? Will it be halfway full? What's your best estimate? An estimate is making an educated or smart guess. So I'm looking at this container and I can tell that it's not as big as this container. So I know that this amount of water will not fill up this container. Let's test and find out if your estimate was correct. My estimate, I'm thinking it might fill up the container about to right here. Let's test it out. Again, I think about maybe right there. If you're doing this at home, you want to be careful not to make a mess or spill. You could try it in the bathtub or maybe outside on your porch. Well, look at that. My estimate was about right. It didn't fill it up quite halfway, but and I definitely was correct that this container of water would not fill up this container. All right, what do you think will happen when I dump this amount of water into this container? You saw what happened when I dumped this one into this one. It didn't fill it up as much as this container was full. What will happen when I dump this one into this? What's your estimate? What's your educated guess? I'm thinking about mine. I'm thinking that this container, since it's wider and bigger, that it will be filled up a lot less than this container. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty shallow. Maybe about to right here, even lower than this one. What do you think? Let's test it out. I think my estimate was about right. I said that it would be even lower than this one. Well, that is a little bit about volume with containers that are the same shape and size. I hope that you are able to do some experiments like this at your house. You could even use maybe rice or beans or sand outside if you have a sandbox or a sand table. Let's take a look at some containers that are actually different shapes though. that makes it a little trickier. These are some different containers. And as you can see, they're not all the same shape like the ones that we were working with before. And they're not all the same size. But to me, they look like they're almost the same size. I'm not sure. There's only one way to find out if their volume is the same or similar. Let's test it out. I'm going to fill up this cup with my blue water. I'm going to fill it as close to the top as I can get it without spilling. Oh, okay, it's pretty full. All right, I'm worried when I dump it into another container, it might spill. So if I dump this amount of water, this is the volume of this container. It can hold exactly this amount of water. I can't barely get one more drop in. What do you think will happen if I dump it into this container? Let's look at just these two for a minute. What's gonna happen? Are these containers about the same size? Do you think they're about the same volume? Will this amount of water fill up this container? I don't know. My guess is that it won't quite fill up this container because I can tell that this container might be a little bit wider than this container. So that means it might hold a little bit more. Should we test my theory? Let's do it. All right, I'm gonna try my best not to spill my water because I wanna get every drop inside. Oh, okay. I spilled a couple drops, but that's okay. Not too much. I see that it did not fill this container up all the way. What does that tell you about the volume? Think about it for a second. That tells me that this container has more volume than this container, meaning it can hold more. Let's do one more test. One more test. Let's look at this jar right here. I can tell that this jar is taller than this container, but this container is wider than this container. So I wonder what's going to happen when I dump this water into this container. What do you think? I wonder. Let's test it out. My guess is that it's going to fill it up higher than it did this container. What do you think? Let's find out. I'm going to try not to spill again here. So you can see that this container is not all the way full. Let's see here. So when it was in this container, it was about up to here, about to right there. But when I fill up this jar, the water is higher. That's because the space inside of this container is taller and more narrow. It's taller and more narrow. So the liquid goes up higher. This space is lower and more spread out. So the water is lower in this container. Again, I hope you can do some experiments with volume at your house, just like you saw me do. And again, you don't have to use water. You could use sand, beans, rice, something like that. Try not to make too big of a mess, but test it out, be a scientist, and find out a little bit more about volume. Have a great day, friends.